Is this the worst thing you can say to somebody with depression? Before we start, if you like this content, please do make sure you subscribe, hit the bell, make sure that you receive updates whenever new content is uploaded. So first things first, what is the worst thing that you can say to somebody with depression? There's other people that are a lot worse off than you. Right, now, you can probably imagine how much this winds me up. And first of all, I need to say that this is often said in a very well-intentioned way by people that want us to feel better. And the other side of this is that when we are feeling depressed, we can actually beat ourselves up with this, that we haven't got a reason to be depressed. Now, the first reason why I say this could be the worst thing that you can say to somebody with depression is that it completely invalidates what that person is going through. Like, well, it doesn't matter what you've just said, what you've just told me, what you've just explained to me about how you're feeling, because others have it worse. Completely invalidates what you've said, doesn't recognise, doesn't acknowledge what you were going through. And you know, we've got to come at a point with anything. I mean, obviously I'm focusing on depression, but whatever struggle or challenge someone's going through in their life, as a supporter, as a friend, as a loved one, as a caring individual, the first thing we need to do is to seek to try and understand and to acknowledge that this is how that person is feeling. And there's a saying that feelings aren't right or wrong, they just are. We can't tell someone that, you know, well, you shouldn't be feeling like that, because they do. So the issue is then how we deal with that. And the best way, I always believe, is a starting point of care and compassion and wishing and seeking to understand. The second point of why this is a really bad thing to say to somebody with depression is that it's nonsensical. Like, yes, people do have it worse, people might have it worse, but it doesn't mean you don't have it bad. And think about it, most people would not say that to somebody that was struggling with a serious physical illness. And how that can come across is essentially that we are being blamed for what we're going through. That we don't have a right to feel the way we feel because other people have it worse. But we wouldn't say that to people that had a heart attack, had any other serious physical illness, that, you know, well, other people have got it worse. No, because we recognise that what that person is going through is serious and that therefore it's understandable that they would feel this way. But when it comes to depression, because people often don't understand it, they will make us feel like we shouldn't feel that way, when actually we're going through a period of illness. And you know, people simplify often. They have this idea that depression is just what you think. But essentially you're feeling sorry for yourself, and that you somehow don't recognise that there's other bad stuff going on. Well, actually the opposite is true. With depression you latch on completely, your brain latches on to all of the negative things. You don't need anybody to remind you that. Like I said, you will often self-stigmatise that I feel like this and I shouldn't, I've got everything to be grateful for. And yeah, you may have, but it doesn't stop you being ill. And that's what depression is. And so it isn't just a case of, well, you know, they need to change the thinking and be more optimistic and then they wouldn't feel like this. Because it feels almost impossible to do that when you're experiencing depression because of the state that your brain is in at the time. It's not as simple as being, it's just what you think. Depression consumes you completely, can take over your whole personality. I'm not exaggerating when I say it can take over every waking thought. It's just there constantly. I used to say, I wish I could give someone else my head for just 1 hour so that you could understand just how horrific the experience is. Yes, other people may well be and are suffering with other things, but believe me, depression is a terrible thing to experience and to suffer with, and I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. What do you think? What has been the worst thing that someone said to you when you've been depressed? I'd love to hear what you think. Stick your answers in the comments. Now I want to highlight as well another perspective on this. Going back to this issue of how it invalidates what we're feeling. We don't do that with people's happiness. When people are over the moon and overjoyed with life, if people have got a promotion, let's say they've got a promotion at work, I'll tell you what we'll do. Someone's just had a new baby. You wouldn't say, well, loads of people are having babies. There's people in Ukraine that are having babies today. You just wouldn't do that. You wouldn't put that dampener on someone else by comparing it to what other people are experiencing. We don't say people can't be happy because other people are happier, but we do say that people shouldn't feel depressed because other people have it worse. And it's so unhelpful. And again, it can be damaging because ultimately it makes us feel even worse than we already do. Because, and believe me, we need very little reason to feel worse than we already feel when we're experiencing depression. Like I said, it's a horrific thing to go through. And, I described it as like my head being in a vice and it's just being bombarded with just horrible things that you wouldn't dream of saying to anybody else. And your brain is so powerful, we can't just shut it down. And, this idea that we can just suddenly think different, it's not that easy, is it? Because a lot of our thinking is done unconsciously. Your brain will churn out all kinds of thoughts. That's what it does. And when we're experiencing depression, a symptom of the illness is that it is wholly negative what your brain is churning out. And it is so, like I said before, consuming. It's not as easy as flipping that switch. Now, yes, there's things that we can do to challenge our thoughts, but it's a process and it takes time. And again, we need to think of it, it's a treatment, it's part of a treatment for an illness that, again, it's not a simple quick fix. So we need to have patience and understanding far, far more than we need judgment. However well-meaning, that's how it comes across, that we are being judged, that we have no right to feel how we feel. When the reality is, nobody would choose to feel like that. Nobody wants to feel like that. And as loved ones, as carers, we don't want to see the people we care about feeling like that and going through that. But we need to understand how we can best support and help and not invalidate and make people feel even worse. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Is it something that you've said to somebody? How do you feel about that now? And again, going back, I always make the point, I'm not looking to condemn people who are well-meaning, but I will always call out ignorance because there's no excuse for it. I'll be back again with another video. If you've got anything in particular that you'd like me to cover, that you'd like me to talk about, whether that's as someone that's experiencing depression, or whether it's a loved one, someone that's caring for somebody that is struggling, then please let me know in the comments. Always happy to take on your suggestions and cover those for future videos. Speak again soon. Bye-bye. Okay, so is this the worst thing? No. What you think, oh, well, it bollocks, no, I won't say that.